So, wir würden jetzt langsam starten. Also falls ihr euch schon euren Wein geholt habt, am besten direkt hinsetzen. Kommt zurück nach vor, dann schaut die erste Reihe nicht so leer aus. Wir haben danach noch genug Zeit zum Netzwerken, zum Vernetzen, zum Weintrinken und uns auszutauschen. Ja, willkommen zu Block&Wine. Für alle, die sich jetzt fragen, wer ich bin, also ich bin die Sophia, ihr werdet mich jetzt hier öfters sehen, denn wir sind ja jetzt zurück aus der Sommerpause und das mit einem neuen Team, das ich euch jetzt kurz vorstellen darf. Ich bin Sophia Surma, ich werde jetzt öfters hier moderieren und als Head of Block&Wine diese Veranstaltungsreihe leiten. Das mache ich zusammen mit einem ganz tollen Team, mit dem Clemens. Clemens, wink mal. Der Clemens, mit der Enea, die ist da. Die Fredi ist heute nicht da, der Georg jetzt auch nicht, wird wahrscheinlich später noch dazu stoßen. Der Lukas als Head of Wine hinter der Bar. Der Prinz, die einzige Person, die das aktuellste Foto hier heute hat, falls ihr da den Abgleich machen wollt. Er hat dieses wunderschöne Foto, wurde heute fotografiert. Ja, und wir freuen uns darauf, dass wir die nächsten Block&Wines gemeinsam mit euch gestalten dürfen und wir wollen das gerne mehr community-driven auch gestalten und deswegen haben wir uns viele tolle neue Formate ausgedacht und eines davon darf ich heute schon mal ankündigen. Das nennt sich Block and Start. Wenn ihr hier den QR-Code scannt, könnt ihr euch schon mal auf unsere Newsletter-Liste setzen. Ihr seid dann die Ersten, die erfahren, was hinter diesem Namen und dem Logo steckt. Also wir haben uns was ganz, ganz Cooles überlegt, um das Ganze breiter zu machen und vor allem jungen Startups noch mehr Drive, noch mehr Plattform und noch mehr Support zu bieten. Und wenn ihr euch jetzt auf diesen Newsletter setzt, seid ihr auf jeden Fall die Ersten, die erfahren, wenn es zu Block and Start etwas Neues gibt. Die QR-Codes enden nicht, wir haben jetzt schon den nächsten für euch. Da geht es jetzt um Block&Wine generell. Wir haben uns jetzt nach der Sommerpause gedacht, wir wollen auch gern mal von euch wissen, was denn so die Themen sind, die gerade in der Community interessant sind, die für euch am interessantesten sind. Also nutzt jetzt die Chance, auch gern alle, die online jetzt dabei sind, da mitzumachen. Ihr könnt da den Code einscannen, ihr könnt da 4, 5 Themen schreiben, die euch gerade interessieren und wir werden versuchen, möglichst stark drumherum zu organisieren, nach dem, was für euch interessant ist. Also wenn ihr da eingebt, was euch gerade am meisten beschäftigt, zu welchen Themen ihr gerne mehr Wissen haben wollt, kann sehr kleine Themen sein, können große Themen sein. Also wir werden den Link dann auch nochmal in die Gruppe stellen, in die Telegram-Gruppe und ihr könnt dann auf jeden Fall Themen einreichen. Wollen wir kurz zu der Präsentation schauen, zu der Word Cloud, ob schon jemand das eingegeben hat? Können wir das machen? Noch nicht. Jetzt ist eure Chance. Gebt was ein. Lasst es nicht leer bleiben. Nochmal den QR-Code. Ein Thema NFT ist auf jeden Fall sehr breit in der Mitte gefeatured, Blockchain, Blockbit, Kryptosteuer, Anti-Money Laundering, Trading. Ja, wir werden, wie gesagt, den Link nochmal einfügen und in die Gruppe, auch in die Telegram-Gruppe und ihr könnt es dann noch hinzufügen. Wie gesagt, es hilft uns auch Formate zu machen, die für euch interessant sind und wo ihr dann wirklich den größten Mehrwert davon mitnehmen könnt. Ja, schauen wir weiter. Wir haben heute, ja. Tiere, Insekten, Blockchains.
Sensorik, ja.
Damit auch die Livestream-Leute hören.
Ich bin ein absoluter Amateur. Nee, ich war sehr oft in Tokio, in Japan, und da gibt es gewisse Forschungsinstitutionen, die mittlerweile mit Kakerlaken-Cyborgs, das heißt Kakerlaken-Insekten, die mit Blockchain-Technologie zusammenarbeiten. Was machen die? Dort überall, wo es gefährlich ist, wo Menschen nicht zugänglich sind, das heißt enge Kanäle, dort durch Sensorik geleitet werden. Ja. Und die Blockchain-Technologie verarbeitet all das, was an Informationen gesammelt wird. Und das finde ich ein unglaublich spannendes Thema. Wir denken immer an die Humanmedizin und der Mensch mit der Blockchain-Technologie, aber Insektenwelt oder Tierwelt, das finde ich spannend.
Danke. Und jetzt, das ist ein perfektes Beispiel, warum es wichtig ist, dass ihr da bei dieser Umfrage auch mitmacht, weil Insekten und Blockchain ist wahrscheinlich nicht so das Mainstream-Topic, würde ich jetzt mal sagen, aber vielleicht trotzdem interessant. Deswegen, falls ihr Inputs habt, gerne mitmachen. Wie gesagt, wir stellen den Link dann noch einmal rein. Aber wir starten jetzt auch direkt in unser Programm und wir freuen uns sehr, dass wir als erstes den Jakob und den Miro von Consola Finance zu einem Vortrag begrüßen dürfen. Sie haben das erste End-to-End Finance Collaborative Tool entwickelt für Web3 Companies und wir sind schon gespannt, mehr darüber zu erfahren, und danach gibt es natürlich auch ein kurzes Q&A. Willkommen!
Können wir auf Deutsch bleiben, die ganze Präsentation auf Deutsch? Passt? Perfekt, super. Danke. English? English, okay, now we prepared. Okay, yeah, so thanks a lot for taking the time today. Mir and me are especially happy to be able to present today in real life. We had this presentation now, I think, over 100 times, pitching to different investors, stakeholders, but never spoke in real life, so that's really good experience today. So we want to discuss today our new startup. Mir and me, we started just 1 month ago. We're working on the topic already since March, but since last month we're full-time now working on Consola Finance. Consola Finance is a B2B finance and accounting platform, which brings, as you can read, clarity and control in company crypto finances. Today we want to first give a short intro about Mir and me, the founders, why we think we're a good team to solve the problem. We also discuss the market, so the market in which we operate, the pain points we discovered, and then also a deep dive about our product. And Mir will also show you the functions that he and our developers are currently working on. So please, next slide. There we go. Thank you. Thanks. Maybe some words about the founding team. So my name is Jakob. I'm Austrian. I have a background in business. I studied in Italy and also Vienna at WU and at Bocconi. Then started working in management consulting, spent 2.5 years in Boston Consulting Group, moved then to Bitpanda. I think you might know Bitpanda, one of the largest European crypto brokers. I was the group product lead for the crypto business, working together with the dev teams, blockchain, NFT marketplace, and also asset hedging, and very happy to see also some Bitpanda blockchain people here. Thanks for coming. And also within the time in Bitpanda, I worked together with the accounting department, where we also discovered the pain point and the problem we was trying to solve with Consola, but maybe handing over to Miro now.
Yeah, thank you. So, hi, my name is Miroslav, or Miro for short. I'm coming from Slovakia, like you can guess from the name, but living in Vienna for a really long time now, over 10 years here. I finished the university here and gained the experience of different industries. It's like over 10 years or 12 years now. Started in public sector, then moved to telecommunications, and then moved over that through automotive to banking. So this is more or less the not really relevant knowledge or really experience that's gained. What is more relevant is that I'm a second-time founder in the crypto space. I've already founded a Web3 company or a crypto company, which was named Eagle.io. It was a decentralized sports betting platform on the Binance Smart Chain. So what we really aimed for is really to through the decentralization to bring the power to the community, even in sports betting. Although sports betting is not necessarily a positive vibe or positive topic, if you really incorporate decentralization and allowing everybody to be a bookmaker in themselves, you can fight the old good. The casino always wins, or the house always wins. So yeah, we launched the platform, went through an ICO quite successfully, and everything was working out pretty well. But unless we really figured out that we also need to do proper accounting and proper bookkeeping, because many companies really underestimate that, and this was really one of the major pain points in the company. And I realized there is a huge need for that. There is not really a solution for that. That's one of the motivation why we are here as well, and that's one of the main pain points that Consola here is solving here.
Okay, yeah, let's continue. I think in this round, I don't need to give a long explanation about what Web3 is. Maybe just one definition how we see Web3. In the end, we see it as the evolution of the internet around the concept of decentralization. And it's a combination of the current digital experience with the new concept, with the principles of digital ownership. And studies show, so we took here a study of Deloitte, show that there's like strong demand for that. More than 50% of global companies, they see Web3 as a strategic priority, and also some research show that the market is growing rapidly, meaning that we will see in the next coming years a huge industry, based on Deloitte report, 80 billion, so there's a huge potential here. Currently, we, Consola Finance, we work with a small number of companies together. We signed some letter of intents, but they're really in the smaller sector of DAOs, decentralized applications, centralized exchanges, and NFT platforms. So this is where we currently operate. So it's a rather small market, and our startup is for sure also dependent on a bigger user set. But we see this already. So we see there's strong demand in the music industry. Music NFTs are popping up. Also in the entertainment sector, there's more and more application adoption, which already has much more potential users than our current target groups. Also in the gaming sector with NFTs in gaming, there's a perfect match with crypto applications. And then one of the largest industries of all, the creator community. Also here we see adoption with Twitter offering profile pictures based on NFTs. Also Instagram, really bullish on it. Meta, the mother company, also working on a metaverse. Yeah. So overall, the main message here we want to convey is there's now already big applications, but we see much more potential in the future. And we also saw that all the companies are really interested in going into Web3, but they're still like very reluctant, because if you build your business logic on crypto, you face a lot of problems. And it always comes down to problems like having a lot of different wallets on different chains, makes your accounting, makes your bookkeeping very, very problematic. We discussed with a lot of companies, like in total, I think now over 50 companies that we interviewed with some we partnered up, and it always can be broken down to three main problems. One of the problems was like the companies who are now working with crypto and applying like business logic on the blockchain, they face always the problem that when they do bookkeeping, they need to use block explorers on different chains, download the data, merge the data in Excel, and this is just a very long and inefficient process. It takes a lot of time, and there are like a lot of human errors involved. Then the switching between the platforms is another problem. So you need Etherscan, SoulScan to fetch the data. Then you need to have a spreadsheet software like Excel to combine it. You need to use other tools like Google Presentation to share the data with different stakeholders in the company. And all that makes it just very time consuming. And the new group of users like DAOs, they have the problem that they don't have a proper overview about what's going on in the company. You have to imagine like a DAO, they have a lot of different sub-DAOs, and you quickly lose overview of what's happening. You don't have transparency, and this is mainly a problem. You cannot do proper decisions as a company. And maybe also a short story about how Miro and me discovered the need also. So I was working in Bitpanda with the blockchain team, so they are also present here. And the accounting team was always like asking us for data on the blockchain. So there's like one example. We had to file an annual report with our tax advisor. And for sure, you also have to book for gas fees, so the transaction fees that happening on the blockchain. In Bitpanda, I think we have over 20 Ethereum wallets, 2,000 transactions per day. So in the last bull run, I think you might know the Ethereum gas price was like around $80. So there are significant costs that came up. And what the accounting department also was doing, they had like a team for sure. They went to Etherscan, copied all the transactions, downloaded the data. On Etherscan, you only can download 5,000 transactions in one file. Then it has to be merged manually. A lot of time is lost, and also a lot of errors happened. And yeah, then they approached us, built us a solution. We said we need to do customer-facing products. We need to allocate the resources towards our customers. And we looked in the market if there are solutions. So for sure, there are competitors. We had a look in what they're offering. And there was no, let's say, proper solution that accounting department could use. And this is also where I discussed with Miro, and I'm not going too much in detail now, but with Agile, as Miro explained, they had like an ICO, so they launched their own token. They also paid the employees with crypto, and also they wrote their own smart contracts to generate revenues. And then I discussed with Miro also that Bitpanda is facing these problems of like reconciling the transactions. And Miro said, yeah, you say exactly what I fight with every day. And this is also where we then said, okay, let's build something here. And that brings us also to, okay, this slide I forgot. Yeah, so just as a main message is new language. Crypto is a new language. We need new tools. And the current tools from Web3 are not made for the decentralized economy. Therefore, we're building now Consola. So I know it was a very long intro now. Now we're finally at our product. And Consola is the first end-to-end finance and accounting platform for Web3 firms. We have the aim that companies are able to focus on value-adding activities and not lose too much time with back-end finance processes. This process we are fully automating. And now I'm happy to hand over to Miro, who will discuss the functions we're offering in MVP.
Yeah, thank you. Before really jumping to the function or really the modules that we have in our main pillars, Jacob really summarized it pretty well what is happening. There are many crypto companies or many new companies going into the crypto space and trying to do something with crypto. And usually they start with like some use case trying to buy some crypto and really to invest. So that generates like 1-2 transactions maybe in a month. So it's not really the pain point. So you have some transactions as a company, but it's all good to really do it manually. So what we are targeting more is, when the company starts to really see the benefit and really go down there and using crypto, for example, even for salary payment, as Jacob mentioned, then it starts to generate really a lot of transactions that gain the complexity. So it's not only the amount, but also complexity. Then the companies start to really experiment with the DeFi's, trying to do some yield farming and so on. And after that, you have the complexity and the amount and the companies you can't really handle manually. So what we are targeting here is more or less, a problem that the company has on the scale after really using crypto or really blockchain itself. And we tackle it with our platform, of course. We defined like 4 main pillars that we are targeting the main pain points of our customer. So Jacob, if you might to jump to the next one. I would like to start with the first and very first one, which is improved transparency. And you might ask, when the company is really using crypto and really moving into crypto, the blockchain itself is transparent enough, or really the blockchain itself is bookkeeping software. So I got all the information there. And don't get me wrong, this is really true. So you have the transparency and you have the data, but unless you don't have, at some point, it's growing really bigger, it's growing really in complexity, and you really lose the transparency and lose the insight. So what we do really in the very first step, as a really basic step, is to have all the transactions connected, all the transactions consolidated on our platform from different sources, meaning different chains. We are multi-chain company, different DeFis. We support a lot of protocols to consolidate the data. And after consolidating the data, we are showing you the data with some focus. So we are highly customizable, but by default, this focus is put into accounting. So what you see is somehow a human readable blockchain explorer with a focus on accounting. So just the data that you really need, and not really that many technological details, unless you want to have it. And yeah, so after you have the data in our platform, quite transparent and accessible, one of the main topics or main activities in bookkeeping, really accounting, is to categorize them, link some invoices, just put comments on some transaction, especially if you're really working with blockchain transactions where it's like just a transaction in blockchain, you don't really have many times a invoice itself. So that's why we let the customer categorize the transactions. We augment it with different type of entry points. But what we also are really proud of is that we have our own AI model that is clustering and categorizing the transaction itself. And we don't have really only one AI model. We have many, and also some statistical models that they are challenging. But I just don't want to go deeper in that. But we are really clustering the transactions that, for example, a customer can have suggestions how to categorize the transaction automatically. So we are saving really a lot of time here for the customer, which is related. And then if you can jump to the next one. So now you have the transactions all in one place from different chains, different protocols, and you have categorized it. So now what can I do with that, right? So you either need to provide data to some authority, like financial institutions, to really do some reporting, or you want to put some reporting or generate some reporting for your community, especially in DAOs. You want to make sure the community knows, and you keep it transparent and keep the community happy. But also, in traditional Web2 space, you also want to export and import in specific software like BDM or client books or Zero or anything. So we are making sure that this integration is seamless, and you can either, of course, you can also export in a CSV if you want. You can generate our own template with PDF. But also, what we are also offering is some really basic Tableau-like dashboard on our platform. Of course, we are not going to be competing with Tableau by any means, but just the first step is on our platform. You can drag and drop some widgets and then export it in a proper Tableau-like or some analytics tool if you want to. But the last but not least point is, after you export it and everything, it's kind of like done. The whole pipeline, what you needed to do from accounting, would be done. But we are especially really huge fans of Google Docs, for example, or Notion or Miraboard, where you have the collaboration, you have the real-time feeling, and different users can collaborate. And we feel like this is really missing in the accounting, especially for crypto here. So our platform is really intuitive and really collaborative. So you have different users. You can manage the access rights and have it like really, quite nice experience on our platform. because quite frankly, accounting is not really something that is really, it's a little bit boring. It's not really something cool that you do. Of course, you need to do that, and to generate the reports and everything is really cool, and have it done is really important. By the accounting itself, if you would have like really boring app or dashboard to do accounting on it, that wouldn't really cut it. So, of course, we have many more modules on our up on our sleeves, but those are the really main pillars that we are initially offering to the customer. And I guess that would be it. And of course, we also offer to the customer many benefits, but of course we need to pick one or up to 3 points. And the main benefits is really that you unify the data from many different blockchains and many different places into one dashboard, into one platform that will help you to really also automate upon it. You, of course, reduce the complexity because you're into automation. Again, if you have like 10 transactions, it's not an issue. If you have hundreds and thousands, the human errors is really a high risk topic. And last but not least, again, don't forget that if you have the transparency, if you have the insights, if you know, or if you can predict what will happen from some charge, really have some overall next couple of months prediction, you also can do better decisions. So this is what our customer is benefiting from, what they like, and I guess that would be it. Did I forget something?
Yeah, we also prepared some QR codes for you. So that's it. Thanks a lot. We're more than happy to take questions. So let's make it an open discussion now. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Want to do? In terms of product or in terms of users? I mean, this, what Miro presented, will be all included in the MVP, which will go live in Q4. And we now work with like some design partners. It's a handful of companies. And yeah, we focus on them, solve the problem for them, and then hope to roll it out like in end of this year to a larger group of users.
But also, I'm not sure if that works. But also chain-wise, I mean, because there's so many chains, right?
Yeah.
You can build endless unit, I know.
No, it's not endless, of course. The utmost priority is to build a solution where you have the option to, integrate many additional changes really fast. But of course, to push ourselves into development, we selected 3 chains to really support from very beginning. Of course, Ethereum, on top of it, Solana, because there is, a huge need for that, and also Binance, Gnosis on Binance Smart Chain as a third differentiator, so to say.
Next question.
Yeah.
Based on like centralized. Because if you are giving finance solution to a company, definitely there will be certain layers of permissions, and we cannot open to every, I should say, members of the company. So is this centralized? There are certain controls, certain triggers. So how do you manage these things?
A really good point, really good point. The short answer is it is centralized, but the long answer would be we have 2 pathways that we didn't really present here, which is clarity and control. So what we were really talking about here is the clarity part, which means this is the centralized part where you get the transparency, you get the data that you can work on, and of course this is like private data of the company, so you can't really make it transparent to the outside unless the company wants to, but usually they don't want to. What you want to really make transparent is the report itself. I'm really a huge fan of decentralization, but for some use cases, it's not really the best way to do. So we decided here to go with a centralized way. All the data we have are in AWS, so we use Amazon Web Services intensively, so everything you see is directly in cloud. And in regards to decentralization, The control part is more about decentralization. We will have a multi-signature wallet, especially for Solana, because there is a need for that. We will have some additional functions directly in a blockchain. But what we were presenting here, as regards to the MVP, it is centralized.
Yes, because I could see there was one section for liquidity pool. So the company liquidity or cash flow, I should say in general terms. So no one wants to expose secret that what's the current status of any organization. So
Yes.
that's why it should be somehow centralized or controlled by authorities.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it is centralized, and although the data is decentralized itself, we are collecting it in one place and centralizing it. Yeah.
If I may, if you're talking about your future clients, which sector you assume to be most interested or most attractive to you in first place? Or
Yeah, I would consider this a little bit of secret information or something like that. It's like internal information, but maybe if you want to give it a little bit of taste, maybe.
Yeah, I think what we for sure can say, like currently we work together with DAOs. That's the target group right now, mainly because they have the business logic on the blockchain, and there's so many use cases. So we meet with them, and then they share all the pain points, and therefore it's really good to build a product for niche, and then get their fan base here, get the first 100 paying customers, and then roll it out. But for sure we have the vision to, like the slide I showed before, we see like all this company going on-chain in the future, and then we are the tool for them. So this is our long-term vision, but for now, like focusing on mid-term, like short to mid-term, next 12 months, we really focus on DAO, so working with them together, signed some letter of intent, and yeah, meeting with them, doing a solution, like producing a solution for them, and then offering the product also for free in the beginning. And also, like let's say some of our investors are from Bitpanda, I would say, so therefore we also work with them together. But an exchange has like only, let's say, limited exposure to, like a centralized exchange, to on-chain data only for like the deposit wallets, then internal management when it moved from deposit wallet to hot wallet to cold wallet. So there you have transactions, but that's mainly the use case. Then also if you offer staking, but that's the main use cases. So there's not too much what we can solve here because it's easily solved, but with DAOs it's a completely different topics. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your question. It's really on point. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Some people don't mind, but yeah, usually they do.
Yeah. When do you plan to implement for Polygon chain?
All the decisions are based on what customer we are talking to, and what the need is. So again, our utmost priority is to have the solution ready to integrate new blockchain like Polygon, for example, really in a short pace or a really short time. But unless there is a really need directly from customer, we will consider it when we are talking with the customer here.
And what is your business model exactly behind the platform? Maybe I missed it. I came late.
Sorry for that.
What's your business model behind?
So we're software as a service company. So we charge based on how many wallets you connect and how many transactions you have on that wallets. We charge a monthly fee. And in workshops, we discovered what's the price point. In the end, we calculate how much time the company is saving with less FTEs working on collecting the data and creating the reports. And then based on how much costs we save, we could figure out a price point that we target. It's around 500 to 1,000 euro per company per month.
Okay, and do you accept token or you accept only?
That's a really good question. So we have some partners, they said they only can pay with tokens, but this is something we, to be honest, did not solve yet. This is something for future us, yeah. No, because we did not generate any revenues yet, so we don't even have any payment provider yet open, but we will focus on also accepting crypto. Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
Blockbit is focusing on retail users to do the yearly tax reports, correct? So from a technical infrastructure, there are a lot of similarities, yeah. But exactly, we have a different go-to-market, meaning focusing, tailoring the product to a different user group and having also functions that differ from what retail users are needing, yeah. But you're right, from a technical infrastructure, there are a lot of similarities, yeah.
And this could be, your user could be small companies to SMEs to big organizations.
I mean, the largest company, or except Bitpanda for sure, but from DAOs, the largest we work together with, they have like 25 full-time employees, full-time equivalents. That's the largest, so it's a SMB, I would say, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because in later stage, you can also use your tokenomics to deeply dive in and give the more offers.
Absolutely, yeah. So in future, I think also to grow, we need to also expand in different sectors. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And also some users can use certain features, like they don't have to buy your full solution. You can provide them partial solutions, like if someone wants to identify their financial statements, someone is interested in salary packages and different products.
Absolutely. The thing is just in this market, I mean, it's a hot market currently, a lot of players going in. So be very careful in what product we offer in the beginning, because we see for sure there are companies that tailor the DAOs and salary payments. So if we would go there in the beginning, we would be direct competitor to already existing player. This is a niche with like DAO reporting, which we're one of the first, but still competition is high. But you're fully right. So we will expand the product offering. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you working with any on-chain, like forensic companies or any data providers?
You mean providers of the data or something, or you mean customers?
No, just on-chain, like a chain analysis, elliptic, these kind of forensic players.
Yeah, yeah, we have multiple. So we are combining multiple ones. But also, we are still evaluating new ones to, go even further. Yeah, to answer your question.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very insightful. Consola Finance.
Thank you.
So then I will give that to you. 1 second. Perfect. Then I can also invite our next guest, Benjamin Stani, on stage. We will also bring the chairs because we will do a Q&A. Very hard.
Yeah, thanks.
One hand. So we were already looking forward to learn about cryptocurrency financial platforms in Asia, and we're very excited to have you here and to have the chance to talk to you about Matrixport. And of course, you will in the end also have the opportunity to ask your questions. But maybe can I ask you first of all to introduce Matrixport and also maybe your newest venture, Matrixport Ventures. What is it all about, and what is your big vision with it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us here. So I'm working with Matrixport. We are one of the big crypto financial service providers out of Asia. We're headquartered in Singapore, and we're basically we're full suite service provider for crypto financial assets. Our clients are, on the one hand, our retail clients that we help generate yield and make more of their crypto. That's one of our visions. And on the other side, we're servicing institutional investors and crypto institutions for custody, for leverage, for trading strategies. We've got a derivative exchange called Bit.com that is under the Matrixport umbrella. We've got a small VC arm, an asset management business. So it's really a full suite financial service provider.
So a one-stop solution. And the VC arm is the latest edition, right?
The VC side is something that we've launched, I think, about 12 months ago, and where we are looking to invest into projects as well. That some of them have to be strategic. We're quite selective in the type of projects that we're backing. But yeah, it's an addition to the full suite of service that we're offering. Yeah.
So after your Series C round, you've reached a unicorn status, and of course now with the crypto winter, everybody's wondering how you are navigating through it as a big player, and maybe you're able to share some of your thoughts and insights, feels about that.
Yeah, you touched a very good point here. I mean, we've concluded our Series C round last year in August, so that's over 12 months ago now, and we've been a profitable company already. So it's not an issue in terms of like the revenues from. In fact, Matrixport, although the company itself is 3 years old, we are a spin-off of Bitmain, as some of you might know, which is the largest Bitcoin mining manufacturer. And so a lot of the DNA and the infrastructure is actually much older than 3 years. And the founders have seen many crypto cycles. And so we've got a more prudent approach in terms of like our risk management and our expansion strategies as some of our competitors. And so bear market is, unfortunately, it's not something that is very pleasant to experience, but it's something that we've seen before. And so the risk management and the implementation of expansion strategies obviously tailored towards this new environment.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you mentioned one of the advantages being resilient more to the different cycles in comparison maybe to other competitors in the space. So we see big platforms from Asia. So what would you say, if I may ask, is your main advantages in comparison to competitors, the resilience, but maybe you can tell us a bit more what makes Matrixport different?
Yeah, so obviously we've got a lot of business lines, but maybe one that has been looked at a lot with scrutiny after the events with Celsius and the likes is crypto CeFi players like ourselves that take deposits and then offer interest on it. And for retail, it looks very similar, all these platforms. It's an app, you transfer your tokens into it, and then they promise you a reward. What happens in the back end is sometimes not very well known, and has led to a lot of people actually losing their money. And what Matrixport does is we are a lot more prudent in the way that we deploy these assets. We only ever give out loans to clients that either do over-collateralized lending. We've never done any under or uncollateralized lending. And we only support delta-neutral trading strategies that are trading in our sub-accounts. So it's a very different value proposition that is sometimes not evident from just the surface. And it's an educational process. And unfortunately, a lot of people got burned with some of the other CeFi players. But hopefully that leads to that natural selection that we're seeing in a free market that we're in crypto.
And you are moving, you're usually in Asia, based in Asia also. So we talked a bit before, and he said he was here in April. You said you were here already. So what is your like current view about like how crypto looks in Asia today and how it looks in Europe? Also maybe comparing it to the US. Maybe you can give us a little insight about what you think are the main differences.
Yeah, sure. I think Asia is a very heterogeneous market. Yeah, it's not one market that you can just paint with a broad brush. A lot of the places in Asia are emerging markets, and so these countries have a large population that is unbanked, meaning that they don't have any bank accounts and they don't have access to the financial system. So for them, they're just skipping that step. They're going straight into crypto. They can have a hot wallet, they can have a cold wallet where they're doing their finances on. It's similar to how they've skipped the fiber optics and they went straight to mobile, and they don't have a PC, they don't have a laptop, but they have a mobile phone that is internet enabled. And so that's a huge part of the markets in Asia where adoption is just much higher compared to what we're having in the Western world. And part of it is just because there's a void of the financial system and people that have been excluded. Then there is a lot more risk appetite, I would say, both historically it's been from a regulatory perspective, but also from an individual investor perspective. Yeah, where I live in Hong Kong, it's not unusual that if you sit in a cab and the cab driver will tell you which stocks he bought on the exchange, which is quite different from at least the social environment I grew up here in Austria. So it's that appetite for risk too that probably differentiates some of the more developed nations in Asia from Europe, I would say.
And would you also say it's like from the necessity of the lack of financial institutions, infrastructure, that people are more educated, or would you think that like this is also a matter of where we have some like catching up to do here in Europe to actually educate people? Because when you say the taxi drivers are telling you about which stocks they buy, you can hardly imagine something like this happening to you here.
I think that was just an example of I guess Hong Kong, Singapore, the financial hubs where everything's hyper financialized, and so if you're already involved in investing, just looking at the new asset class is just so much. It's closer to home than if you're just used to putting your money into a savings account and never even thought about investing actively. I think that's maybe a subset of the places in Asia. And again, I'm probably biased here because that's where I live in Hong Kong, but I'm just thinking about Vietnam, for example, which is one of the top countries in terms of crypto adoption. And there it's bare necessity of people that using that because it's easier to transfer. It's also countries that have a relatively weak national currency, and so they would like to save in dollar terms, and so that's why they're using Tether, for example. That's another area of where you see a lot of adoption. And then, of course, I have to mention the regulatory side because you have countries like India where you had a vibrant crypto ecosystem, and then basically a tax law that made it more or less prohibitive in transacting in anything crypto-related.
Thank you. Now I will move to a bit more questions about you yourself. I've heard from Georg that you like skiing in Japan. You moved there to Asia about 8 years ago, you said. Why did you decide to move there? What drives you there? I've heard a lot about like the business side now. Where's the fascination for you, and why did you take your life there?
It's a good question. So I've obviously not been in crypto forever, and so before my life in digital assets, I was studying international business at the VU here in Vienna, and it was all about emerging markets. It was all about growth, and so I wanted to get to Asia, where the action actually is, where on the ground. So for my postgrad, for my master's, I decided to go to Beijing to basically see on the ground how things happened, and then I've managed to find a job in Hong Kong working in the financial services industry there, and was fortunate enough to be in Hong Kong in 2017 when we had the last bull run and the ICO bonanza, and when the global crypto epicenter was basically there, and that's where I got more involved. That's how I've started my journey. And yeah, you mentioned skiing and Japan. It's not. No, it's a bit of a crime in Austria to say that they have good skiing elsewhere, because I know the best resorts are obviously here at home. But it's the closest place that you can go skiing when you are based out of Hong Kong, and they do have very good powder there in Niseko, I must say.
And you said you were there at the right point of time. How would you think about like young professionals that think about going to Asia today? Is it like, is it hard? Like, would you advise it? Maybe you can give us a bit more insight about that.
I would say if you're interested in digital assets, in crypto, it's truly a privilege of our generation now that it's a very global ecosystem, yeah. And if you're working for a DAO or a foundation, a lot of these roles are remote, so it doesn't really matter where you are. So the necessity of physically relocating somewhere is diminishing by the day, and a lot of these companies or organizations or setups, they are remote only. So it's more about the quality and the content that you're producing, and at the same time you can immediately connect with anybody globally thanks to social media channels and the likes. So I guess the pandemic has pushed that into the real world economy as well, but in crypto we always had that working model.
Thank you. Then a more personal question, and I'm very interested to hear it. What's the biggest challenge you faced in crypto so far?
Yeah, I had to think a bit. It's, I guess, until now, my journey. So I mentioned like I was working in traditional finance before I joined crypto, and I was working as a equity sales, as a stockbroker for Citibank for many years, and I had always talked with my institutional investors about investment opportunities and market color, and they started to be interested in crypto in 2017 already, and I tried to grow that passion internally, and I guess the challenge that I was facing at some point was in terms of like the willingness of a large organization to take risks on that new emerging asset class, and that at some points was a bit frustrating, and ultimately led me to make that transition to join a crypto native company.
Now we're again back to the appetite for risk that you say is slightly different in Asia than if you have it here. That's a very interesting point, because I think we might know that from other companies, and I think there's also statistics about like Europeans, and I think especially Austrians not having too much risk appetite, but I mean it also differs, I guess, from the industries you're in, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of it is the traditional finance industry is highly regulated, and so there's only so many areas you have leeway in terms of what you can do, and a lot of the crypto innovation happened in a regulatory vacuum, because regulators usually are slower to react. Yeah.
So we are here today to also learn about what we can learn from big financial platforms in Asia, and we would be very interested to hear which people you find most inspiring. What are the people that inspire you?
There's a lot of people that I'm inspired by, and a lot of people are in my personal network who I probably not too helpful if I name those people here. But of the ones that you all know, I mean, obviously the first one is Vitalik Buterin. Obviously, he's the foundation of that protocol that we're now basically building. So many of the innovations that we've seen in the crypto space, and I had the pleasure to meet him for the first time in person last week at the Stanford Blockchain Conference, and it was a very, very emotional moment for me. Then, given my background in finance and having worked for Citibank in Hong Kong, I have a bit of a soft spot for Arthur Hayes, how he brings across the global macro and the views of financial assets into the crypto space. So I'm a huge fan of his writings. I like Hasu and his thoughts around what he's doing on the Flashbot side and what the whole challenge and implementations upon MEVs I think is super interesting topic. So those are probably some of the more prominent names that you might have heard of.
Thank you. That's we're talking about inspiration and inspiring, and I think you with Matrixport are also like trying to inspire. We talked a bit about what your company does, and I have asked you, but I'm asking again. So what is your big inspirational vision for Matrixport in the future? Yeah, maybe you wanna share.
Yeah, so I think Matrixport is something different for different kind of client sets, and our overall slogan, guiding logos, is called "Make More of Your Crypto." And what we mean by that is, if you're just a retail investor and you want to make sure that you're generating a yield on your crypto, you want to give you that opportunity in a relatively risk-free environment. So that's why we put a lot of focus on the risk parameters. If you were a crypto institution, then we would want to enable you for custody services that are safe, where you're keeping private keys in cold storage, but at the same time giving you functionality that you can actually do things with your crypto in custody. And if you were crypto institutions that want to trade on delta neutral strategies, or that have a new project that you're looking for capital, then we want to be there and support you as well. So we want to be a player that can support people across the ecosystem in a trusted, safe, and secure manner.
Yeah, I guess that's a good vision if you have such a like facilitated and like a variety of offerings that you're actually offering to your customers and to different customers, which is, I think, very interesting, and I think maybe very interesting to discuss more later on. I don't want to take too much time away also from the discussion in the community, but I also want to ask one last question, because we talked a bit about the learnings that we can derive, and maybe you can share, if it's not hard, maybe the 2 or 3 main learnings we can, and as a young crypto community here in Vienna, we can take away from this talk, from your experience that you had in Asia. What can the Viennese community learn from Matrixport and and, uh, Asian culture?
Yeah, thinking back on my crypto journey, what helped me at the beginning was to have that community. Yeah, there was a lot of educational events that I went to at the beginning, and I'm the kind of person that I'm just learning a lot better if I'm with other people and can discuss and share ideas there. You can do all of that online, but if you're asking me how to build a community locally here, obviously that's a very good way of doing this. So keep coming to events like these, keep asking the right questions, and obviously also keep doing your homework, keep following the right people on Twitter and reading Medium posts, and just making sure that you're on top of the events that happen in the market, yeah. And things that happen really quickly in crypto, but some of the core fundamental questions, they are still there. Like we haven't solved scalability issues to the same level that we wanted to. We haven't solved some of the game theory aspects. So some of the questions are still there from many years ago, and there's still people debating them. So if it's your first time, don't feel afraid to ask these questions. Yeah.
Thank you. That's actually a very good also takeaway for us. So you should still join Block&Wine community events, and especially also for the ones that are here today for the first time. Don't be intimidated. Just talk to people. I think it's really important. Aspect of Block&Wine also to stay afterwards and drink a glass of wine and actually go ahead and talk to people. And now I want to open up and ask if there are any questions from the audience. Max?
Thank you. I wanted to ask, who is your competitor in the market? Definitely there are certain other hedge funds who are also working in crypto asset management in Switzerland, and as this Singapore market is already regulated, and currently banks are also offering the same services, like in United States, Bank of America, JP Morgan, and these banks are already in the process of offering asset management, cryptos, mainly crypto. And in Singapore, DBS is also going for to offer such opportunities for investors. So when, as an investor, if I get one opportunity from the bank, on the other side, I'm going to a private hedge fund or private asset management company. So do you think, of course, as an investor point of view, for me, bank gives me a little bit more security, I should say, because of course it's investment. On the other side, I wanted to just ask, these are the currently competitors. How do you feel that, what will be your position in next 5 years? How you are going to manage this competition in the market?
That's a good question. So you were asking, because there's multiple business lines, so we have different competitors on every business line, and I think the question that you were asking is on the retail yield generation and deposits, right? So you're absolutely right, there's new players entering the market. There's a lot of players that exited the market because of liquidity constraints and mismanagement on the risk side. So I think reputation is still very important, yeah. And I don't know to what extent players would if they're entering crypto space, would want to go with a platform that has not much experience in crypto. But I might be wrong here on that front. The other thing that we are very good at is on the product innovation side. So we were the first to launch a product called dual currency, where you're basically benefiting from the volatility in the crypto market by selling volatility. And we've developed a number of new, more complex financial products that are very popular in the Asian market, where financial literacy is higher. And so I think that's probably the area that we're going down towards. Yeah, there'll be a lot of competition and commoditized of the pure savings account business. But there will be other financial products that players can differentiate on.
Then I think we had a question here and here. Thank you.
Okay. I try in English. maybe I switch to German. I'm a small part of a crypto blogger community on the Hive blockchain, and it's amazing. I don't know if you know the Hive blockchain, but I learned it 2 years ago. I started blogging on this chain. It's open source, and it's crazy that you earn money. That you blog and you earn money. So it's open source. You can play to earn games. So I love it. But my question is completely different. When do you think crypto or Web 3.0 is really here in Vienna? Really, not like now. Really in Europe, in Vienna. I mean, you talk to Asia, from Asia, but we are in Europe. Do you think when it's really here? Also, I have to look the word in English. 1 moment. It's like I'm looking for a tax consultant, and you have also the banks. And I think 3 days ago, I was on a tax consultant, and the woman told me, no, crypto, no, no, I don't know, and so they didn't took me. So when do you think crypto is really here in Europe, in Vienna, for all people, for the community? It's for you also to use it.
That's a very good question. I think probably the answer to your question is it will be here when people don't realize that it's crypto. Yeah, it will have to be, the UI have to be in a way that most people don't feel and see that they're touching crypto. It will be similar how you're using WhatsApp and forget that you're using the internet. That would probably be my guess. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is related to crypto companies getting listed on stock market. So in US, there are a lot of mining companies which are there. You can trade their stocks. And I usually don't see such kind of companies listed in European markets, and rarely I see them in Asian markets. Or do you have some knowledge from your experience in Asia? How does that go? That crypto companies getting listed, getting into traditional markets so that there is more exposure to liquidity and more exposure to knowledge.
So just to recap, the question was about crypto companies being listed in the US rather than in Europe and Asia?
Yeah, rather than Europe and Asia. Or did you see something else in Asia which is not spread worldwide?
There are some players listed in Asia, but they're smaller. Yeah, so I think that's more to do with the fact, though, that ultimately a lot of the crypto businesses are global, and so when you're having a global company with not much geographic like centralization, then you just go to the deepest capital markets in the world, which are in the US. So I think that's probably one of the reasons. The other reason I can think of is that, just putting my old finance hat on, a lot of these deals have been through spec listings, and from a regulatory perspective, spec listings were mostly done out of the US. I don't know how the environment looks in Europe. I know in Asia we've only very recently done the first spec deals. So I think that's probably another reason that you can see a lot of the crypto players just being listed in the US.
Hi, I have 3 questions. The first question would be, I'm not sure did it get it right, that the latest question before about your competitors. So is there a main competitor, and what's the name of this competitor?
It depends entirely on the business line, what you're looking after.
So there's nothing comparable to Matrixport.
A lot of the players, I think in terms of like if you're looking at the whole product suite, we are probably one of the most comprehensive in what we're offering. To give you an example, we offer DeFi-enabled custody solution. So what that means is that if you have your assets in custody with Matrixport or with Cactus Custody, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Matrixport, we have a cooperation with Consensus and MetaMask Institutional, and so you can use the assets in the same fashion as you would use your normal retail MetaMask. Now, Consensus has that cooperation with a handful of other players, but we're the only one of these players that also have a borrow lending book next to it. And so because we have that combination, we can actually give you leverage for that DeFi strategy, what our competitors can't do.
Okay, so there's no competitor.
For the pure custody business, of course, there's competitors. For the pure borrow lending business, there's competitors as well, but there's nobody that can offer you that combination.
Okay. So you mentioned DeFi. The second question is, are there customers of your company who lost money in the DeFi space? Because as we know, there have been big problems, Terra Luna and other things. Yes.
So we've got about, we used to have 10 billion assets under custody. We've got about 500 institutions that we are actively supporting, not just for custody across the platform. So I can't speak for every single client. I know that we didn't have any Luna because we didn't support the Luna chain. So none of our clients lost money in that case. But yeah, obviously there might be cases where people have lost money in rug pulls or in hacks, because ultimately, if you have your assets in DeFi, you're entering the smart contract risk to whichever protocol you're entering with.
So you are not selecting the projects which you are offering your customers?
We provide you the interface, the MetaMask institutional, but it's DeFi, it's decentralized finance, so you can decide which protocol you want to interact with. This is different if you're an institutional hedge fund and you want to have leverage. If we deploy capital with you, then of course we will have to have our security team audit the smart contracts that you want to interact with. But if you're using your own money, then we basically want to enable you to use as wide as an ecosystem as you feel safe for yourself.
And then the last question about your position in the company, and there is something like an ambassador status. Maybe you can tell us about what the role of ambassadors within your company.
Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean with the ambassador status. I'm responsible for business development.
Okay, so I have visited the website, and there I read that if you want to promote your company, you can become an ambassador.
That might be something that the marketing team has put out. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I have to get back to you on that question. Yeah.
I have a question. The investors, how do they? For example, I'm a layman, and I want to know how to invest your organizations. What's your cap? And also, what's the ceiling, how much I can invest versus MOQ. So these things, if as a layman, we are sitting here, we are getting inspired by your organizations that there is no competitor, you have blended solutions for the investors. But what will be the, I should say, starting point for a person to think about your organization, that we should be a part of this organization, or either you are going as a retailer, because of course as a hedge funds that's a different criteria, you have a different protocols, but for retailers, what's the point and what's the security for them? And is your solution, do you provide insurance? Is it insured? Because you are asking question about other KYC and AML and also chain analysis and elliptic. So you are definitely would be going through these all compliance challenges. So as a retailer, definitely at a certain point, even certain hedge funds, they don't want to expose, they don't want to give exposure. So how do you manage, because these are gray areas, and how do you manage these challenges as an organization?
Sorry, just to
as a retailer, yeah. I would like to join your organization. What's the process? What's the minimum investment, and how much I can get security? This is a one side as a retailer. As a hedge fund, definitely the hedge funds are working at a different scale. They are working with banks, they are working with PPP tradings, there are different protocols. for them, definitely at certain points, they also don't want to get exposure to these KYC, AML, deep KYC and AML. How do you manage these challenges? Because this is a DeFi, there are still gray areas in crypto. How do you manage them?
Yeah, okay. So there's two questions. The first one is you retail, how do you invest with Matrixport? The second question is, if you're in a crypto institution, how can you get capital from Matrixport? The first one is quite simple. It's an app. It's a normal KYC process where you need your ID, and you just download the Matrixport app. I can give you a QR code afterwards, and then you have the entire investable product systems from us available to you. Depending on your KYC levels, withdrawal limits will be measured, and there's a few jurisdictions where we can't onboard you, but Austria obviously is excluded there. So that's for the retail side. I think that's the easier one. If you're a crypto institution, then you have a much more rigorous KYC and AML process that you have to go through if you want to onboard with Matrixport. Yeah, basically, we would. There's two ways that you can borrow capital from Matrixport. One is if you use crypto as collateral, then we can give you, most of the time it's a stablecoin loan for these crypto assets, which will have to be in an over-collateralized fashion. So let's say typical loan range would be something like 50–60% of loan to value. So for $100 worth of Bitcoin, you would get $50 worth of stablecoin. And then depending on the fluctuation of the Bitcoin price, we would have to, you either have to top up or you can withdraw Bitcoin for your margin. So that's the model that we've historically used when we supported Bitcoin miners. What we've done now more is we're supporting delta neutral trading strategies. So what that means is that's hedge funds that are doing arbitrage strategies or hedging strategies where they don't have directional risk to the market, and so they're not impacted by the fluctuations of the underlying currency, but they're just exploiting market inefficiencies. And for these type of strategies, we can give out leverage as well, as long as they're trading within our risk parameters. Hope that answers the question.
Same, like they provide, you can trade volatility instead of asset. Like it doesn't matter whether price is going up or down. You are trading only the volatility and you are getting profit, and you can leverage up to 20 to 30x. So somehow FTX is also giving the same solution for retailers, I should say.
I'm not too familiar with that product in FTX, but we can talk about it after.
Thank you. I think we can also, you will stay around for a glass of wine, so if you still have questions for Benjamin, then you can feel free to approach him with a glass of wine. I also think Miro and Jacob will be here if you are more comfortable asking their questions in person, and I think that's why we are also all here to network and to talk about crypto and blockchain. So with that, I think we formally can move to the next agenda point, which is the networking part. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. And thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, and I also want to say one more time, you can also go to blockandmore.com to sign up for Block and Start, to sign up for our newsletter, to be up to date when we tell you what we have planned to start very soon. Yeah, thank you. Let's network. Block and Wine, yeah.